right. Now, now let's start discussing about the life cycle of Cycas. Life cycle of Cycas. So, like in the previous discussions, uh, first I will show you some no questions, right, about Nephrolipis.
No.
All right. Okay. Okay. So now let's start discussing about the life cycle of Cycas. This is Cycas. All right. Actually, there are various types of plants. Right? So just remember. So these are the Cycas. Right? Cycas එකේ තර ගොඩක් එක එක plant types තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරි මේකයි මේ එක එක විදිහේ plants තියෙන්නේ, but they are the same species. So as you can see here, there are very different types of plants. හරි මේ බලන්න එක එක නම් තියෙන ගොඩාක් plants වර්ග තියෙනවා. හැබැයි මේ ඔක්කොම Cycas තමයි. හරි. Okay. So these are Cycas. So again, so when we are explaining about a life cycle of a plant, first thing that you should do is you should say what is the dominant generation or the dominant plant. All right, that is the first thing that you have to say. All right. So here, when we are talking about life cycle of Cycas, I told you actually before talking. So when we are talking about life cycle of Pogonatum, I told you out of the life cycles that we are discussing in the syllabus, Pogonatum is the only plant which has a dominant gametophyte. All the other plants have a dominant sporophyte, not gametophyte. So in all the other plants, gametophyte is non-dominant. Right? So these are the common things. So sporophyte are the dominant plant. All right. So dominant means lama, it is always larger, photosynthetic, and independent, and long living. Right. So when you are before start to describe the life cycle, always you have to give a brief introduction about the plant. No? So you have to tell which one is the dominant plant, and you have to explain about the structure of the dominant plant first. හරි මුලින්ම dominant plant එක මොකක්ද කියලා කිව්වා. ඒකේ structure ගැන පොඩි explanation එකක් කරනවා. හරි about sporangia and everything. All right, sporangia and everything. Then when you are telling that this sporophyte is the dominant one, you can say it is photosynthetic, independent, large, and long-lived. So all these features are common for all the dominant plants. Can dominant plants ඔක්කොටම ළමයි මේක common නේ. හරි. එතකොට මේක ඕනේ එකකට කියන්න පුළුවන්. හරි. It is photosynthetic, it is large, long-lived, independent. Right? So those are common things. That's why I told you to explain about these plant life cycles, you don't have to remember all the life cycles one by one. So first thing is you need to understand the common structure of plant life cycles. Then you have to know the differences of life cycles. Right? So if you know the common structure and the differences, you can write about any plant life cycle. ඒ කියන්නේ එකින් එකට වෙන වෙනම මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. හරි? First know what is the common structure. There are two alternating generations, gametophyte, sporophyte. Sporophyte produces spores, gametophyte produces gametes, like that. Then you have to know the differences. If you compare Nephrolepis and Pogonatum, what are the differences? If you compare Pogonatum and Selaginella, what are the differences and similarities? Likewise, you have to know. Then you will be able to explain any plant life cycle. Right? Okay, so sporophyte are the dominant. So obviously photosynthetic, independent. Right? Then gametophytes are reduced. So gametophyte is the non-dominant plant. So obviously it is reduced and depend on the sporophyte. Now this is a bit different because so previously we have discussed about the Nephrolepis. No, in Nephrolepis, gametophyte were also photosynthetic, right? Gametophyte does not depend on the sporophyte in Nephrolepis. But here, a gametophyte is reduced and depends on the sporophyte throughout its life. All right. So now, if you compare the differences between Nephrolepis and Cycas, those are the differences. So both Nephrolepis and Cycas has a gametophyte, but in Nephrolepis, gametophyte is independent. Gametophyte is independent in Nephrolepis because it is photosynthetic. But here, In Cycas, there is a gametophyte, but this gametophyte is fully dependent on this sporophyte. This gametophyte is totally depend on sporophyte, right? So likewise, you have to know these differences. Okay, sporophytes are perennial tree with roots, stems, and leaves. All right. So sporophytes are perennial trees with roots, stems, and leaves. Right. I showed you the pictures. Then stem is unbranched. Right. දැක්කන cycas වල branches තිබුණේ නෑනේ. So stem is unbranched. Stem is unbranched and columnar and woody. Leaves are arranged in crowns. I will show you this also. So these leaves of these cycas are arranged in crowns. Crown එකක් විදිහට තමයි arrange වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හරි, you have to see the pictures. I'll show you the pictures. Then compound leaves show xerophytic adaptations and young leaves are fiddleheads. All right. So I will explain these using the diagrams. All right. Then sporophytes are heterosporous. Now you know what's the meaning of heterosporous. All right. So which means sporophytes are heterosporous, which means these sporophytes produces two different types of spores. These produces two different types of spores, megaspores and microspores. Megaspores and microspores. Then dioecious. Right? So sporophytes are heterosporous and dioecious, which means unisexual. Dioecious means unisexual. So which means, now this is very important, in this there are two types of sporophytes. In Cycas, there are two types of sporophytes. So this is very important, right? Because when we were discussing about other plant life cycles, there was only one sporophyte. Right? But in Pogonatum, there were two gametophytes, but there is only one sporophyte. Right? If you talk about this Pogonatum nephrolepis, had only one sporophyte, right? Only one sporophyte. But here, Cycas has two different sporophytes. Right? So Cycas has two different sporophytes. Male for a sporophyte and a female sporophyte. Right? අපි ළමයි කලින් discuss කරපු එක එහෙම තිබුණේ නැහැ නේ. ඒගොල්ලන් තිබ්බේ there were only one sporophyte. But here in Cycas, there are two sporophytes. Two sporophytes. Male sporophyte and female sporophyte. Right? Then sporophyte have developed into taproot system. So these Cycas is a monocot plant, monocot ladonus. You can taproot, have developed a dicot. Taproot එකක් තියෙන dicot නේ හරි. ඒතකොට ඒක dicot කියලා තමයි consider කරන්නේ. Alright, so these Cycas are actually dicot because they have a developed taproot system. Right? Then secondary growth is present. All right, secondary growth is present. You know about primary growth and secondary growth. Right? Primary growth, what happens? Increase the height of the plant. Right? So in secondary growth, increase the circumference of the trunk or the stem. Right? Or increase the thickness of the plant. Right? Then sporophyte, which produces megaspores, are called the female plant. So now we know there are two different types of sporophytes. So spores which produce megaspores are called female plants. So which is a female sporophyte. All right. So female sporophyte produces megaspores. All right. So so sporophytes which produces megaspores are called female plants. So which means female sporophyte. So here there are two types of sporophytes. This is very important. And මේ ස්පොරොෆයිට්ස් දෙකක් හම්බුනේ. ඒක නිසා Cycas වල මතක තියෙන්න ඕනේ. In Cycas there are two sporophytes such as male and female sporophyte. Right? So sporophytes which produces megaspores are called, mega means large spores. Megaspores means large spores are called female plant, and those which produce microspores is the male plant. So which means male sporophyte. Male sporophyte produces microspores. Right? So female sporophyte produces megaspores, male sporophyte produces microspores, and these are, both of these are diploid. Right? Both are diploid because sporophyte is always diploid. Sporophyte is diploid. Right? So female sporophyte produces megaspores by meiosis, right? Then male sporophyte produces microspores by meiosis. Always remember, so during this plant life cycles, formation of spores is always by meiosis, right? Always these plants produces spores by meiosis, gametes by mitosis, all right? Okay, then mature female plant produces a crown of megasporophylls. So you will remember, you can remember when we were discussing about Selaginella. Selaginella was also heterosporous. Right? Selaginella is also heterosporous. Right? So when we were talking about Selaginella, there were two uh, leaves, right? Megasporophylls and microsporophylls. හරි. ඒක දැන් බලන්න දැන් ඒ වගේ ඔන්න similarities තියෙනවා Selaginella and Cycas. හරි. Selaginella, between Selaginella and Cycas there are similarities. හරි. In Selaginella also there were two types of leaves. Megasporophylls and microsporophylls. හරි. මතකයිනේ. And Selaginella is also heterosporous. හරි. There were microspores and megaspores. Okay, so mature female plant produces a crown of megaspores. Mature female plant, which means the female sporophyte all right. So mature female plant means mature female sporophyte, all right? Female sporophyte produces a crown of megasporophylls. They have a crown of megasporophylls. All right. So female sporophyte has a crown of megasporophylls. I'll show you what is this megasporophylls. Those are like leaves. Waliin hadiccha nikan crown එකක් වගේ එකක්. හරි. So, all right. So megasporophylls. Then megasporangium is enclosed in the corrective layer called integument to form the ovule. All right. Then integument has small pore in the distal end of the ovule called the micropyle. So we will learn about this. So before that, you need to understand this. So in female sporophyte, there is a crown of megasporophytes. All right. So then within these megasporophytes, there is megasporangium, which produces megaspores. All right. So, mature female plant has female sporophyte. So, mature female plant is female sporophyte. Within female sporophyte, there is a crown of megasporophylls. So, megasporophyll means lamai. That's the those are leaves contain megasporangium. Those are leaves containing megasporangium. Megasporangium means sporangium which produces megaspores. Right. So, in the female sporophyte, there is a crown of megasporophylls. Then this megasporophylls has a megasporangium. Then they produces megaspores. They produces megaspores. All right. Okay. So මට මේක erase කරන්න එතකොට ටික කරන්න ඒක නිසා ඔය මේක ලියා ගන්න. හරි. Then I will erase this and describe other things. All right. ලියා ගන්න මේ ටික.
Give me 1 minute to write it down.
Okay. So here I will do this modification. හරි මේක මම තාම explain කරේ නැහැ. හැබැයි දැන් ඔයා ලියා ගන්න ඉඳ මම ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් මෙතන ලියන්නම්. ඒකත් එක්කම ලියා ගන්න. Okay, so here I didn't explain about the ovule yet, but in the crown of megasporophyll there is something called ovule. I will explain about it, but since you are writing this, I will write this here. So ovule, within the ovule, it contains the megasporangium, right? In megasporangium, and there is also protective layer called integument. All right. So just write the megasporangium here.
Finish.
Okay. So now, okay, now let's discuss the other parts as well. So, okay. So now, again, mature female plant produces a crown of megasporophylls, right? So megasporophylls has ovule. Ovule contain megasporangium. All right. Okay. So now remember about that structure. So megasporangium is enclosed in the protective layer called the integument. So actually it's like this. All right. So now consider. So this is the female sporophyte. Then it has these leaves called megasporophylls. Then in these megasporophylls, they have ovules. I will show you an ovule. Then consider this is the ovule. I'll show you a picture. Now I'm drawing this as a simple diagram. All right. So within this ovule, there is megasporangium. And there is also protective covering. Right. So consider this as the protective covering. And that is the integument. All right. Okay. So this is just a simple structure. This is actually different. හරි. මේක මම නිකන් simply අඳපු එකක්. මම මේකේ හරි diagram එකක් පෙන්නන්නම් මේ ටික discuss කරලා. Okay. Then integument has a small pore in the distal end of the ovule called the micropyle. Right. So now consider. So this is the ovule. Within the ovule, there is megasporangium, and there is outer covering called integument. So in this integument, at the distal end, so integument has a small pore in the distal end of the ovule, right? So let's say this is the. Okay, so now. Okay, now consider this is a pore. ඔන්න මෙතන pore එකක් තියෙනවා. So at the distal end of the ovule, at the integument has a small pore. You can see දුරක් තියෙනවා pore එකක්. හරි. And that is called the micropyle. That is called the micropyle. Right? Okay. So then what happens is one of the cells in the megasporangial tissue differentiates into the single megaspore mother cell called megaspore mother cell. All right. So okay. So before going into the megaspore mother cell, first I will show you a structure of this ovule. All right, because that is easier to understand. Right. So, okay. Now consider this. All right. Okay. So now consider this as the uh, megaphares. All right. Megaphares of Cycas. All right. So these are like leaves. හරි. මේ කහ පාටට තියෙන්නේ. හරි. So these are like the leaves of the Cycas. හරි. So these are formed like a crown. මේ නෑ crown එකක් වගේ හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ. All right. So these are megaphares. And as you can see here, what are these? These are the, consider these are the ovules. හරි මේවා හිතන්නකෝ ovules කියලා. හරි. So then it's easier for you to understand. හරි. So megaphares and ovules. All right. Here also. All right. So this is the actually this is the male cone and this is the female cone. All right. In this female cone there are megaphares containing ovules. All right. Okay, then now let's discuss about the structure of the ovule. Now, this is a cross section, longitudinal section, right? So longitudinal section of a ovule, all right? Then here, so this is the ovule, all right? So this ovule is present on megaphares. Hari megaphares වල තමයි ovules තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? Then there is a protective structure, as I mentioned. This protective structure is called the integument, right? Integument is the protective structure. Then this nucellus, this is the megasporangia. හරි අපි megasporangia කියලා කිව්වට ඒකට nucellus කියලා තමයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියන්නේ. All right. So nucellus is the megasporangium. All right. So then there is another part called pollen chamber, and this is the micropyle. All right. So micropyle is a pore at the distal end of the ovule. All right. So this is the structure of the ovule. It has a protective covering. All right. So this ovule is present on megaphares. All right. Megaphares වල තමයි ovules තියෙන cycles වල, and it has a protective covering called integument, and it has part called nucellus, that is actually the megasporangium. Then there's a pollen chamber and there's a micropyle. Micropyle is the pore at the distal end of the uh, ovule. Alright? Okay, හරි. මේක පොඩ්ඩක් අඳගමුද ඉක්මනට. මේ ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක ඔයා තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ මේක කරන්න. හරි?
Okay.
Here you don't have to write all these layers. Just draw an arrow here, mark it as integument. මේ ඔක්කොම ඕනේ නැහැ. When you are labeling, label these parts. Micropyle, you have to label it. Cuticle is also better to nucleus. Sorry, nucellus or the sporangium, archegonium, integument. That is enough. You don't have to write all these layers. Then endosperm. Those are enough. Okay, so now you can understand about these layers, right? So there is a layer called integument, and megasporangium is enclosed. All right. I told you megasporangium is the nucellus. All right. In that picture. Then integument has a small pore. You have seen that one also. That is called the micropyle. Right. Because then we structures ටික and the gatta ඒක දැන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. Then one of the cells of the megasporangial tissue differentiate into a single megaspore mother cell. All right. Now think about the ovule. All right. So now you know in the female. So now a female sporophyte has megaspores, right? Then there are ovules. Within the ovule, there are various parts. So one part is megasporangium. Then this megasporangial tissue, which means the megasporangium or the megasporangial tissue, differentiate into a single cell. Right? So all these, so that is very important here. So in previously when we were discussing about other plant life cycles, usually these sporangia produces many spores, numerous spores. But here in this life cycle of Cycas, this whole megasporangium differentiate into a single cell. Right? Single, that cell is called megaspore mother cell. Megaspore mother cell. All right. So that's a so that is a huge difference from other plant life cycles. So because in other plant life cycles, those megasporangia or microsporangia or the sporangia produces numerous spores. But here in the cycles, this megasporangium differentiate into a single cell, right? This whole megasporangium within the ovule, this differentiate into a single cell. This cell is called the megaspore mother cell. Megaspore mother cell. Okay. Then megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis. All right. So this is, so up to now this is 2N. All right. So megasporangium is 2N, right? Female sporophyte 2N. So all these are 2N. So single megaspore mother cell is also diploid, right? Single megaspore mother cell is also diploid, right? Then it undergoes meiosis. Right? So this megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis and four haploid megaspores. So it produces four megaspores. All are haploid. All right. Okay. So so first this megasporangium of the Cycas differentiate into a single mother cell, all right, single megaspore mother cell, right? Single, so there is only one megaspore mother cell. හරි single කියන එක මම අයින් කරන්නම්. හරි මතක තියාගන්න one කියලා. හරි. So they differentiate into the megaspore mother cell. Then this megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis because this is diploid. Then it undergo meiosis and produces four haploid megaspores. So all these are megaspores. All right, megaspores. Okay. Okay. Out of these four megaspores, again, only one remains functional. Right. So this, so initially what happens? So now there is a female sporophyte. It has uh, megaphils, right? Then, sorry, megaphils, no, not megaphils, no, megasporophils. Right? So I have you have seen these megasporophils. ඔගොල්ලෝ දැක්කයි මොනවද කියලා. ඒතකොට megasporophils is a leaf. හරි? Leaf that has formed as crown. හරි? Formed as a crown on the female sporophytes. Female sporophyte එකේ leaves වලින් හැදිච්ච crown එකක් විදිහට තමයි මේ megasporophytes තියෙන්නේ. And these megasporophytes contain ovules. අර ගෙඩි ගෙඩි වගේ තිබ්බේ. හරි? So that may look like fruits, but they are not fruits. Those are called ovules. අපිට පේන නිකන් fruit එකක් වගේ නේ ඒක. megasporophyll එකේ. හරි? ඒකට those are not fruits. Those are ovules. හරි? So within ovules there are several structures. හරි? There is a covering called integument. හරි මම ඒකත් ලියන්නම්. There is a covering called integument and there is a megasporangia. This megasporangia differentiate into megaspore mother cell. That is a one cell, but that is diploid. Then this diploid megaspore mother cell produces four megaspores by meiosis, undergoes meiosis and produces four megaspores. Out of these four megaspores, only one remains functional, which means so other three are not functional, but only one is functional. All right. Out of these four megaspores, only one remains functional. The remaining megasporangial tissue functions as the nucellus. So I told you at the end, this megasporangium and nucellus is like the same thing. ඒකයි මම කිව්වේ මේ දෙකම එකයි කියලා. හරි? Because the remaining megasporangial tissue functions as nucellus, which provides nourishment. All right. So, okay, so now what happens? So one single megaspore remains functional, and there is a other megasporangial tissue also, right? So I will මම කොහෙද ඒක ලියන්නේ? ඉඩක් නැහැ. හරි. කවක්ද? මම මේක මෙතන පොඩ්ඩක් ලියන්නම්. Okay, so now this is the functional megaspore. And there is remaining part of the megasporangial tissue. Remaining of megasporangial tissue. So what happens? This remaining of the megasporangial tissue becomes the nucellus. Structure called nucellus. All right. What's the function of nucellus? Nucellus provides nourishment. provides nourishment. All right. Nucellus provides nourishment. Right? So remember this as a flow chart. Right? This is very complicated than other life cycles because here there are two sporophytes as well. මෙතන sporophytes දෙකක් තියෙනවා ovule කියලා වෙනම structure එකක් තියෙනවා. This is very complicated. හරි. ඒකයි මම මේ සරින් සරි මේ වගේ charts අඳින්නේ. හරි. Then megaspores are not released to the external environment. Megaspore develop into female gametophyte. So megaspore develop into the female gametophyte while within the ovule. So alright, so all these things occurs within the ovule. Alright, nucellus is within the ovule. The functional megaspore is within the ovule. Then what happens? This functional megaspore develops into the gametophyte. Alright, so that develops into the female gametophyte because these megaspores produces female gametophyte. Microspores produces male gametophyte. මෙතන තියෙන්නේ megaspore නේ megaspore එකකින් හදන්නේ ළමයි female gametophyte එක. So female gametophyte. All right. So this functional megaspore produces female gametophyte. Female gametophyte. Okay, then female gametophyte produces several archegonia. Each archegonium produces single egg cell. So what does it do? This female gametophyte produces several archegonia. All right. And each one contains one egg cell. Oh, okay. All right. So where does it start? Starts from the female sporophyte. So now we have already discussed about the female sporophyte. All right. So we have discussed about the male sporophyte. That is why I told you this is a very complicated topic actually, this life cycle. So female sporophyte has megasporophylls. Those are leaf-like structures formed like a crown. All right. Then it has ovules, like fruit-like structures. Within ovule, there are several structures. One is the protective covering, that is called the integument, and there is a megasporangium. Megasporangium of Cycas within the ovule, that present within the ovule. This megasporangium is within the ovule. Then this megasporangium differentiate into a megaspore mother cell. There is a cell called megaspore mother cell. So this megasporangium differentiate into megaspore mother cell. Megaspore mother cell. Then it undergoes meiosis. This megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis and that produces 4 megaspores. Right? After undergoing meiosis, this megaspore mother cell produces 4 megaspores, but out of these 4, only one is functional. Only one is functional. Then other than this functional megaspore, there is a remaining megasporangial tissue. Then that remaining megasporangial tissue becomes the nucellus, that's the structure called nucellus. Then this nucellus is important for the nourishment, that provides nourishment. Right? Then this functional megaspore becomes the female gametophyte because this is the megaspore. Always megaspores become female gametophytes, microspores become male gametophyte. So here there is a megaspore, so it becomes the female gametophyte. Within female gametophyte, there are several archegonia. Within these several archegonia, there is each consists of one egg cell. Okay, so that is about the female female sporophyte and how it produces the female gametophyte. Then we had to talk about the male gametophyte and microsporophytes and all that. All right, හරි. මේක ලියා ගන්න ඉක්මනට මේ ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක මෙතන ඉඳන් පිළිවෙලට. Okay, so then we have to discuss about the first we have to discuss about the male gametophyte and how male gametophyte is produced by microspores. So actually, if we compare this with the uh, female gametophyte and female sporophyte, actually this is very simple. හරි අච්චර overview කියලා එහෙම ලොකුවට දෙයක් මේකේ නැහැ. Okay, so first I'll show you the male microsporophiles. හරි. All right, so this is the male cone. All right, so in male sporophytes of Cycas, there is a structure called cone. In female sporophytes of Cycas, there is a structure called crown. මම ගන්න පේන crown එක හරි. ඒ කියන්නේ female sporophytes වල තියෙන ළමයි crown එක. males ලගේ තියෙන cone එක. මේ තියෙන cone එක. හරි. So this cone is formed by microsporophiles. එතන මේකේ cone එකේ තියෙන්නේ කෑලි කෑලි වගේ. So these are the microsporophites. All right. So if you compare sporophytes of Cycas, male and female, so female sporophytes of Cycas contain a crown-like structure which is formed by megasporophiles, and male plants of Cycas, male sporophytes contain a cone, male cone. So this cone is formed by microsporophiles. And මේ cone එක හැදිලා තියෙන පොඩි පොඩි කැලි තමයි microsporophiles කියලා කියන්නේ. හරි. ඒක ලොකුවටම ක්ලියර් නෑ. ඔරයිට්. මං හිතනවා තේරෙන්නේ නැති කියලා. Okay, here that is clear, right? Okay, so as you can see, these structures, පොඩි පොඩි කෑලි උට්ට වෙලා තියෙන. So these are the microsporophylls of Cycas. Alright, this is the male cone of male sporophyte of Cycas, and these small parts, these are the microsporophytes. Okay, so so mature male plant, which means male sporophyte produce male cones. I showed you the male cone, right? On the male cone එක. This male cone contain microsporophiles. Right? So male sporophyte has a male cone. This male cone consists of microsporophiles. These microsporophiles consist of microsporangia. So in megasporophiles, in the female sporophyte, there are megasporophiles, right? Then this in megasporophiles, there was ovule කියලා එකක් තිබ්බා. Within the ovule, there was megasporangia. But male plant is different. In male sporophyte of Cycas that contain a male cone, then within this male cone there is microsporophiles, right? Microsporophiles. These contain microsporangia. This contains microsporangia. Then large number of microspores are produced, right? Large number of microspores are produced from microspore mother cell. So similarly, you remember in the female plant that megasporangia differentiated into megaspore mother cell. Similarly, similar to that, here first this microsporangia contain a microspore mother cell. All right. So now you have to compare this with the female sporophyte. Right? So in female sporophyte, there was a megasporophylls, right? Within that, within In megasporophylls, there were ovules connected to it. Within ovules, there were megasporangia. Within megasporangia, initially differentiate into megaspore mother cell. Then megaspore mother cell produces four megaspores by meiosis. Right? Then එකක් මතක් කරගන්න. Then what happens in the male sporophyte? There is a male cone. Male cone is formed by microsporophylls. Then microsporophyls contain microsporangia. Then within the microsporangia, it produces a microspore mother cell. All right. Then this microspore mother cell produces large numbers of microspores. Not only four, right? Large number of microspores. Large number of microspores. All right. So microspore mother cell produces large number of microspores by meiosis. Okay, so this is ON diploid. Then microspore mother cell is also diploid. Then after meiosis, these microspores are haploid. All right. So male sporophyte has a male cone. It has microsporophytes. Then this microsporophytes has microsporangia. Then microsporangia produces a microspore mother cell. Then this mother cell undergo meiosis division, meiosis, then produces large number of microspores. Then these microspores will produce male gametophyte. All right. Okay, then male gametophyte will produce sperms. හරි ඒතර ඒ ටික ළමයි common. හරි දැන් microspore එක male gametophyte එක වෙන එක male gametophyte එකෙන් antheridia හදන එක antheridia වලින් sperms හදන එක those are common things. හරි. හරි. Okay. Any questions up to now? Any doubts? We have discussed up to when these microspores are produced. අපි දැන් microspores produce කරන තැන වෙනකන් discuss කරා. Okay, then they develop into pollen grains within the sporangium, and then they discharge. All right. So now microspores are produced by the microspore mother cell. Then sorry, okay. So then microsporangium produces microspore mother cell. Then what happens? Microspore mother cell produces microspores. Then these microspores develops into pollen grains. All right. So then this microsporangium produces the microspore mother cell. Then this microspore mother cell produces microspores. Then these microspores develops into pollen grains. So what is pollen grain? Pollen grain is a structure that houses the male gametophyte. හරි. ඒතර male gametophyte එකට එක තියෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ pollen grain කියන එක ඇතුලේ කියලා හිතන්න. Right? So this a structure called pollen grains houses the male gametophyte of Cycas. All right. Then pollen grains are dispersed. Pollen grains are dispersed by wind and deposited on the micropyle. So that is why we have learned about the structure of the ovule. Now you have an idea about the structure of ovule. Then this ovule contain a pore, right? At the distal end, it contain a pore called micropyle. All right. So this pore is called the micropyle of a mature. So what happens now? Then this pollen grain deposit on micropyle of ovule. All right. So then this pollen grain dispersed by wind and deposit on the micropyle of ovule. Micropyle of ovule. Then pollen grains enter into the pollen chamber. All right. So now quickly I will draw the structure of ovule. මම ovule එක පොඩ්ඩක් අයි අඳින්නම් මෙතන. Right. So ovule is a structure which is connected to the megasporophyte of female sporophyte. Female sporophyte කියන cycas වල female sporophyte එකේ megasporophyte එකට connect වෙලා තියෙන structure එක තමයි මේ ovule කියලා කියන්නේ. මම ඒක පෙන්නුවා. එතකොට හරි roughly නිකන් හිතන්න හරියටම නෙවෙයි. හරි roughly හිතන්න මෙහෙම කියලා. හරි එතකොට ඒකේ structure එක මම අර අඳින්න කියලා කිව්වා මම ඒකයි මෙතන ඉක්මනට ඇඳලා පෙන්නන්නම් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියලා. Okay. So this is the micropyle. This pore, that is the micropyle. So other than that, it contains the pollen chamber, a chamber called pollen chamber. So this chamber is called the pollen chamber. All right. Then there is the protective layer called integument. එතකොට ඉන්ටගියුමන්ට් එකේ parts තමයි තියෙන්නේ. හරි. ඉන්ටගියුමන්ට්ස් එකේ අර parts තුනක් තිබ්බේ. එතකොට ඒකක් දැනගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. හරි. Okay. So right, pollen chamber, micropyle. Then there is the nucellus. හරි. මේක around nucellus එක තියෙනවා. හරි. ඒ ටික තියෙනවා. Okay. Then what happens? Pollen grain dispersed by wind and deposit on the micropyle. All right. So then consider okay, consider this green color structure. This is the pollen grain. Then this deposited on the micropyle. All right. Micropyle of the mature ovule. So that is called the pollination. That is also very important to remember. All right. So pollen grains are dispersed by wind and deposited on the micropyle. All right. So these microspores becomes the pollen grain. Then pollen grain dispersed by wind and deposited on the micropyle. That is called pollination. Then pollen grains into the enters into the pollen chamber. So here there is a structure called pollen chamber. Then this pollen grain enters into the pollen chamber. That's why you have to remember, you have to have a rough idea. They will never ask you to draw the ovule and name the structures. But to understand this life cycle, you have to have an idea what are the structures of ovule. හරි එහෙම නැත්නම් ovule එක ගැන එහෙම දැනගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ කිසිම දෙයක්. හැබැයි ඒකේ මෙන්න මේ important structures ගැන idea එකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට micropyle enters into the deposit on the micropyle, then enters into the pollen chamber of the ovule through the micropyle. So in the pollen chamber, pollen grain develop into male gametophyte. So I told you this pollen grain houses the male gametophyte. Pollen grain houses the male gametophyte, which means so when this pollen grain enters into the pollen chamber of the ovule through the microfile. At the pollen chamber, it differentiates into male gametophyte. It develops into male gametophyte. Okay. So then, male gametophyte consists of branched pollen tube, which involves in absorption of nutrients from the nucellus. All right. Okay. Again, okay. Now consider this is the pollen grain. Now think this is the male gametophyte. So now within the pollen chamber, this pollen grain has developed into the male gametophyte. So now consider this as the male gametophyte. This is the male gametophyte. Male gametophyte. All right. So then this male gametophyte consists of a branched pollen tube. It's making there is a structure developed from the male gametophyte. This structure is called the pollen tube. What happened now from the so first these microspores differentiate into pollen grains, then dispersed by winds they deposit on the microfile of the ovule of the female gametophyte. Sorry, female ස්පොරොෆයිට් හරි ෆීමේල් ස්පොරොෆයිට් එකේ තමයි මෙන්න මේ ඕවියුල් එක තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට මේ ෆීමේල් ස්පොරොෆයිට් එකේ තියෙන ඕවියුල් එකේ මයික්‍රොෆයිල් කියන එකට ඇවිල්ලා මෙන්න මේ pollen grain එක deposit වෙනවා. Then these pollen grains are entered into the ovule through the microfile, then enters into the pollen chamber. At the pollen chamber, this pollen grain develops into the male gametophyte. After that, male gametophyte or develops into the male gametophyte. Male gametophyte has a structure. All right. So this is a structure developed from the male gametophyte. This structure is called the pollen tube. All right. Pollen tube. Then this pollen tube absorb nutrition from the nucellus. I told you nucellus is developed from the remaining parts of the megasporangium we have discussed previously. So this nucellus, this structure called nucellus is important for nourishment. All right. So then this male gametophyte produce a structure called pollen tube. Then this pollen tube absorb nutrients from the nucellus. All right. Okay, so this male gametophyte consists of pollen tube. That is a structure. All right. Pollen tube absorb nutrients from nucellus. All right. So male gametophyte consists of a pollen tube, absorb nutrients from nucellus, and that is short-lived. They produce two large flagellated sperms. All right. So male gametophyte produces two large flagellated sperms. All right. All right. So male gametophyte produces two large flagellated sperms like this. Then the end of the pollen tube ruptures. End of the pollen tube ruptures. So now we know there is a structure called pollen tube, and also this male gametophyte produces two large flagellated nucleus. Sorry, two large flagellated sperms. Right? Then these sperms are passed through the pollen tube. දැන් මෙතන මේ හැදිච්ච pollen tube එක දිගේ තමයි මෙන්න මේ sperms දෙක යන්නේ. හරි? So these sperms, uh, මෙතන ඉඩක් නැහැ නේ අඳේ. Okay හරි. මේ ටික දැන් ඇඳ ගන්න. නැත්නම් මට අඳින්න ඉඩ මදි නිසා හරි. මේ දෙක ඇඳ ගන්න. මේ chart එක ලියා ගන්න. Then I will explain how these are released into the archegonium by pollen tube. හරි. ඉක්මනට මේ ටික ලියා ගමු. Consider this is the ovule. Micropyle. So then pollen grain enters through the micropyle. So this is the pollen chamber. Then at the pollen chamber, this becomes the male gametophyte. Male gametophyte. Then it has a structure called pollen tube. Consider this is the pollen tube. All right. So as I mentioned, it produces this male gametophyte produces two flagellated sperms. Then what happens? So this pollen tube is important for absorption of nutrition from the nucellus. I mentioned that previously. So then what happens? Then these two, so now there are two sperms, right? So now think this is the pollen tube. So this is the pollen tube. This is the archegonium. Okay, so this is the archegonium on the within the ovule. Within the ovule, there is a female gametocyte. See, there is a female gametophyte. Within the female gametophyte, there are archegonium. So consider this is the archegonium. So what happens is these these sperms will come through the pollen tube. Then pollen tube breaks. Pollen tube breaks. All right. So two pollen tube ruptures, releasing the sperms into the archegonial chamber. So this is the archegonial chamber. So then there will be a rupture of the pollen tube. Then these two sperm. So one of these sperms. So actually both can actually enter, but only one sperm will fertilize the egg. Right. Consider there is an egg here. So one sperm will enter the archegonial chamber. All right. Then fertilize the egg, resulting in a zygote. All right. Okay. Then zygote develops into embryo. So you know the other parts, right? So this is the important thing because you have to explain how this occurs. So this pollen grain develops into the male gametophyte at the pollen chamber within the ovule. Then pollen chamber, this male gametophyte has a pollen tube that is important for absorption of nutrients from the nucellus. And also this male gametophyte produces two flagellated sperms. Then these two sperms are released into the archegonium of the female gametophyte after rupturing of the pollen tube. pollen tube එක rupture වෙලා sperms දෙක enter වෙනවා archegonium එකට. Then one of these two sperms will fertilize the egg. Then zygotes develops into an embryo. Then the remaining female gametophyte all right. So consider there is a large gametophyte within the ovule. හරි හිතන්න දැන් ඔන්න ovule එක තියෙනවා within the ovule. හරි හිතන්න within the ovule there is a, so consider this is the gametophyte and there are archegonia like this. Hurry. So now this pollen tube ruptured and released these sperms into the archegonium and it fertilizes the egg. So other than this archegonium, as you can see, there is a huge part remaining as the female gametophyte. ඒ කියන්නේ female gametophyte එකේ archegonium එකේනේ fertilization එක වෙන්නේ. එතකොට archegonium එක අරුණාම තව ලොකු part එකක් තියෙනවා gametophyte එකේ. So this remaining part becomes the endosperm. There is a structure called endosperm. All right, endosperm. So the after fertilization of the egg within the archegonium of the female gametophyte, the remaining female gametophyte, the remaining part of the female gametophyte becomes the endosperm. This endosperm is important for provide nutrients. All right? This provide nutrients. Provide nutrients for the developing embryo. All right. So this endosperm provides nutrients for the developing embryo. All right. Okay. So these are the things that you have to know. Then this ovule becomes the seed. Ovule like a seed. All right. Ovules become the seed, and we know the protective layer or the protective structure of the ovule is the integument. හරි. ඒතර integument කියලා කියන්නේ ovule එකේ තියෙන protective structure එක. Alright. So the protective structure or the protective covering of the ovule is called the integument. So this ovule become the seed. So the integument become the seed coat. Alright. So seed coat is the integument. Integument. All right. So integument is the protective covering or protective layer of the ovule. So when the ovule becomes the seed, this integument becomes the seed coat. All right. Integument becomes the seed coat. Okay. So then seed is the dispersal unit which contain the embryo and the stored food that are enclosed in the seed coat. All right. So within this seed, there is an embryo and stored food. Right? Stored food කියලා කියන්නේ ළමයි ඉතින් මේ endosperm එක. Right? Because endosperm is the part of the seed that provides nutrients for the developing embryo. Right? Okay, so those are the things. All right. So male gametophyte produces sperms. Then these sperms are released after rupture of the pollen tube. Then enters into the archegonium. Then archegonium then fertilizes the egg. After fertilization, it becomes the zygote. Then it becomes the embryo. Then the remaining part of the female gametophyte, other than the archegonium, there is a remaining part. That remaining part becomes the endosperm. Then endosperm, function of the endosperm is to supply nutrients for the developing embryo. All right. Then ovule becomes the seed. All right. Ovule become the seed. Then covering of the ovule is the integument. Then integument becomes the seed coat. All right. Then these seeds are dispersed. All right. Okay. Hari. මේකත් ඉක්මනට ලියාගමුකෝ. Special things about Cycas life cycle. So the main thing is, so we have discussed several plant life cycles now. We have discussed the Pogonatum, Nephrolepis, and Selaginella. In all of those plant life cycles, sporophyte was only one plant, which means sporophyte, there was no two types of sporophytes, right? But here in Cycas, there are two types of sporophytes, right? Male sporophyte and female sporophyte. That's the main thing here. right? So that's the difference. So if you consider uh, in female sporophyte, there is a female crown. There is a structure called crown. That crown is formed by mega sporophytes. All right. So mega sporophytes. So we have discussed those mega sporophyte. Then in male sporophytes, there is a structure called male cone. All right, male cone. So I'm talking about the sporophyte. So there is a structure called male cone, and there are so that male cone is formed by microsporophytes. Microsporophytes. So in the female sporophyte, in the megasporoph megasporophytes, uh, there are structures attached to it. Those are called ovules. So within these ovules, the covering is the integument, and inside integument there is a megasporangia. All right. So that's the basic structure. Then in male cone is formed by microsporophytes, and in microsporophytes, so microsporophytes contain microsporangia, and it produces uh, microspores. And within the megasporangium, ultimately it will produce the megaspores. So this is heterosporous. So there are two types of spores such as megaspores and microspores. Okay, so all right, so this is the Cycas life cycle. So first thing is you need to understand uh, what are the differences of Cycas life cycle from other plant life cycles. So as you can clearly see here, in as I mentioned, in all the other plant life cycles that we had discussed up to now, they had only one type of sporophyte, right? But some had two gametophytes, but all of those plant life cycles had only one type of sporophyte. But here there are two types of sporophyte. So here, this is the male plant, male sporophyte, and this is the female plant, which means female sporophyte. So, if you consider the male sporophyte, it has a structure called male cone, right? So, this is the male cone. That is the male structure of the male sporophyte. All right. Then, so we will start this discussion from the male plant. So, this male cone. Okay, so this is the male plant. So male plant contain the male cone. As I mentioned, this male cone, this structure is formed by microsporophyte. All right. So this male cone, this structure is formed by microsporophyte. Actually, I have shown you few of the pictures of the male cone, and I have showed you these structures called microphyls. හරි මයික්‍රෝෆයිල් කියලා කියන්නේ නිකන් පොඩි ලීෆ් වගේ එකක්. අර කහ පාටට මම ඩියේ පෙන්නනවා අර කොහොමද මේක එන්නේ කියන එක. හරි. So this male cone is formed by microsporophyte. Then uh, so this produces these so this microsporophyte contain microsporangia, all right? Microsporangia. So here there are this diagram does not contain all the steps, all right? So this contain microsporangia, all right? Then it differentiate into microspore mother cell, all right? එතන අපි දැන් අර කලින් so when we were discussing other life cycles, there were no such thing as mother cell. But here in this Cycas life cycle, there is a cell called mother cell, right? Megaspore mother cell and microspore mother cell, all right? So microsporangium becomes the microspore mother cell, all right? Then it produces microspores. Then it produces microspores, all right? Then it becomes the pollen grain. All right? This microspore, let's say this microspore becomes the pollen grain, all right? Okay, then it becomes the pollen grain. Then this pollen grain. Okay, so now stop from here. අපි දැන් මෙතනින් ඉඳන් නවත්තමු. Germinating pollen grain. හරි. So there are microphiles. Then in microphiles, it produces, let's say, pollen grain, right? So it is similar. So microphile contain the microsporangia. Then microsporangia differentiate into microspore mother cell. Eventually, it produces the pollen grain. Then germinating pollen grain, right? So if you consider the germinating pollen grain, there are a few structures actually that I have mentioned yesterday. So just remember the pollen tube. This is the main structure that you have to remember, right? You don't have to know what are the body cells and stalk cells, right? You have to know what is pollen tube, right? So if you consider pollen tube, that is important for absorb the nutrients, right? To absorb the nutrients, and also this pollen tube release the sperms into the archegonium of the female gametophyte. හරි. ඒටි මං හිතනවා මතක ඇති කියලා. ඔන්න දැන් මෙතනින් අපි මේ ටික හරි. Then female plant. Right. So here also actually there are other structures you don't have to know. You don't have to know about syngamy and oospause. මේවා ගැන දැනගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. හරි. මේවා lesson එකේ නැහැ. මේ diagram එකේ ඒවා තිබ්බට. හරි. Then female plant. So female plant has a crown. All right. So that is previously a male plant has the cone and a female plant has the crown. So this crown of female plant, female sporophyte, is formed by megasporophylls. Megasporophylls. Then these megasporophylls contain the structure called ovule. Right. So ovule I showed you yesterday. These are like fruit-like structures. නිකන් පළතුරු ගෙඩි වගේ. Right, green color. So mostly green color ones. These are attached to the megasporophylls. Right, megasporophylls. Then right, so it is covered by the integument. Right, integument in cover වෙලා තියෙනවා. And it has the within it has the megasporangia. Then in the ovule, megasporangia differentiate into megaspore mother cell, right? Megasporangia differentiate into megaspore mother cell. Then this megaspore mother cell produces 4 megaspores, right? This megaspore, so this megasporangium differentiate into megaspore mother cell. Then it produces 4 megaspores, all right? Out of these 4 megaspores, only one remains functional, all right? So out of these 4 megaspores, only one remains functional. Other 3 are not functional. So the remaining tissue, remaining part of the micro
functional නැති එකට මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ පුදුස්?
So other part, which means the non-functional megaspores, and the remaining part of the megasporangia becomes the nucellus, which provides the nutrients. හරි, ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් ස්පොරැන්ජියම් එකේ තියෙන ඔය ඉතුරු වෙච්ච ඒවා තුනයි ඉතුරු ඔක්කොම parts ටික nucellus එකේ විදිහට convert වෙනවා. So nucellus provides nutrients to the growing embryo. හරි. And the gametophyte. So then that functional one, that functional megaspore becomes the female gametophyte. That functional one becomes the female gametophyte. Okay, so then within the female gametophyte there is, so these are the archegonia, right? 2 archegonia. So actually what happens here is, so that is not mentioned here. So this pollen grain, but what happens is this pollen grain deposited. So what is this pore is called? What is the name of the pore?
Microspore.
Yes, microsphere. So this all right. So microspore. So here this pollen grain deposited here. Then it enters into the pollen chamber. හරි. ඉතින් මෙතෙන්ට ඇවිල්ලා pollen chamber එකට තමයි enter වෙන්නේ. So at the pollen chamber, this pollen grain differentiate into the male gametophyte. හරි. එතන මේක ගොඩක් ඒක පෙන්වුවොත් මෙතන ගොඩක් complicated වෙන නිසා තමයි මේ diagram එකේ ඒක දීලා නැත්තේ. ඒක ඇත්තටම වෙන්නේ ඒක. හරි මම ඒක ඊයේ අන්දලා පෙන්න ඔක්කොම pictures ටික. So this is represented here and enters through the pore into the ovule. Then at the pollen chamber, it differentiates into the male gametophyte. Then male gametophyte actually develops this pollen tube. Male gametophyte develops pollen tube. Then it absorbs nutrients from the nucellus. Now I told you the remaining part of the megasporangia converted into the nucellus, which provides the nutrients. So this when this so here consider now there is the male gametophyte. දැන් අපි මෙහෙම ලොක් කරලා ගමු. So here there is female male gametophyte. So this pollen tube of male gametophyte absorbs nutrients from the nucellus of within the ovule. හරි ovule එක ඇතුලේ තියෙන nucellus එකෙන් තමයි nutrients absorb කරගන්නේ male gametophyte එක. හරි. Then this male gametophyte produces two sperms. Then these two sperms enters into the pollen tube like here. All right. So here you can see these are the two sperms. All right. So these are the two sperms. These two sperms are within the pollen tube. Then after rupture of pollen tube, these are entering into the archegonium. Right? එතන එකකට තමයි enter වෙන්නේ දෙකටම enter වෙනවා කියලා එකක් නැහැ. So only one sperm will fertilize the egg. Alright. So only one sperm will fertilize the egg and other sperm usually degenerates. Alright. So only one sperm will fertilize the egg. Other sperm usually degenerates. ඒක degenerate වෙලා යනවා. Right. Then what happens to the ovule after fertilization? This produces the zygote. Then zygote becomes the embryo, right? Zygote becomes the embryo. Then this ovule is called the seed. Then on the fertilization එක වුණාට පස්සේ that produces zygote. Then zygote become embryo. So the this ovule containing the embryo, that is called the seed. දැන් මේකට අපි කියනවා seed කියලා. That is called the seed. And the integument, which was the covering of the ovule, that becomes the seed coat. Alright. ඒ කියන්නේ මේක fertilize වුණාට පස්සේ අපි මේ ovule එකට කියන්නේ seed කියලා. හරි. Okay, so that is the thing. So then seed dispersed. ඒවා dispersed වෙලා හරි ඉතින් ඇටයක් පැලවෙනවා. හරි. So seed after germination of the seed, it becomes the mature plant. Hurry, mature sporophyte. Okay, any doubts?